Hello and welcome. My name is Tom Shima. Over the course of 2026, I'm playing the game Persona 3 Reload. Only I'm trying something a little different. I'm going to match the pace of the game. That's right, I'm playing this game one real day at a time. Please enjoy this different take on the game in a series I'm calling Persona a Day. Hello and welcome. My name is Tom Shima, and today is Monday, May 18th. As I like to do, I start by talking about what we did yesterday. That way we're all on the same page and we're all caught up coming into today. Then we'll get into today's gameplay and see where that takes us. And after that, we'll come back here and we'll talk about it and see what sort of connections we can make. For anyone watching on YouTube, I will have timestamps in the description in case you wish to jump to a specific section. And I do wish to warn everyone that we will be encountering spoilers since this is a full playthrough, so please be aware of that. So first, let's look at what we did yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday, May 17th, so there was no school. And yesterday was our last day off before this week begins. And this week is an especially special one because this is the start of midterms. Beginning today and going through Saturday, we will be taking our midterm exams. So all throughout this last week to 2 weeks even, we've really been considering those exams getting closer and trying to get as ready for them as we can. And looking back at yesterday, this was our last chance to prepare. So the day started out nice and early and got up at a reasonable time and decided to check out Tanaka's Amazing Commodities on TV. It's always nice to see that weekly show and see what he's selling. I didn't end up buying anything from the show this week, but it was nice to take a break and watch it. After that, I took a short walk around town to stretch my legs, get some fresh air, and pick up a Persona from the Velvet Room. I had decided during the day that I wanted to kind of work on that balance between having fun and having that school life. We talked about it the last few days, in that you kind of need that balance between constantly studying and taking that little bit of a break to realign yourself and get yourself more comfortable and that chance to unwind and things. Junpei really put it well when we were studying in the study group the other day. And he basically said that if all we're doing is studying, we're going to get burnt out and we're not going to get the most out of our studying. So we need to liven it up and take a break here and there just to kind of change things up. That way when we get back to focusing on studying, we can really dig in and focus. And so that was kind of the mentality I came into yesterday with. I wanted to do something that was a little bit relaxing and to take a break before then circling back to really hit the final exam preparations as hard and productively as we could. So with that in mind, there was a text message from Maya, an online gamer we're friends with, and she invited us to spend some time online and game with her. And that sounded like a perfect use of yesterday. We don't have as many chances to interact with Maya, considering it takes a full day off in the afternoon to have a chance for that. So that's typically just a weekend thing. But more than that, it's just a good chance to not have to focus on studying and review at that time, and it was a time to take a break. We've already established that our character is something of a gamer, so doing something fun with an online game, in a social setting as well, with someone he's enjoying hanging out with, just seemed like a really good use of the time. So we played that game for a while, we chatted, we did whatever the game took us to do. It wasn't enough to advance our social link rank yet, but it was just that really fitting, nice break to not just be studying yesterday. It was that chance to unwind a little bit and still have some fun while keeping in mind the deadline that we have looming. So Maya and I, we had some fun during the day working on that and having, not working on that, I guess, and just enjoying that. That's another thing, actually, specifically with Maya. The Sunday prior, we'd spent some time with her as well. She was using the game as a break from some work obligations she had. And she kind of said the same thing we were talking about using that game as a chance to unwind and just reclaim her own time. So it was also kind of fitting to look back to a week prior and be on the other side of that now, since we're taking that break from a big life-consuming deadline that's getting closer to us, and to kind of put ourselves in her shoes there. So we had a good time during the day, and as the gaming wrapped up, I headed down to the lobby to see what everyone else in the dorm was doing. And when I got down there, I saw everyone was crowded around the table with study books and guides and paperwork all in front of them. It turned out that Mitsuru had organized a group study session. She'd realized how much effort we'd been putting in Tartarus in our explorations in this last month, and she wanted to do all we could, or all she could, or all we all could, to work together as a group there to get ready for exams. All throughout the last half of this week, we've had a lot of different chances to work on some group study sessions, and I've loved every one of them, because you just get that much more of an interaction to the people around you. It's easier to relate to the material, to ask questions off of people, to compare notes. All those things you can't do by yourself. So it was really cool to see everybody all gathered together at that point around the table working, and to be invited to that. It was obvious, I was very interested in joining that, so I did. And it was just really nice then. The camera pulled back and we were all studying. Yukari asked Mitsuru a question about a topic she wasn't quite understanding. So we were bouncing ideas off each other and just really trying to make the most of our last day before the exams begin. And as we're going in, midway through, Junpei, his eyes started to wander away from his paper as he stared across the table, towards Yukari and Mitsuru. And he said, man, did you smell that? And it's a video game, so it's a little harder to relate directly to the concept of smell. So I didn't quite, I had an idea what he might be talking about, but I wasn't sure. So rather than jump to conclusions, I just played it neutral and said, what are you talking about? And he just kind of gave me that deadpan stare, like, really, dude? Do I have to spell it out for you? That mature scent, the floral scent. Look who's sitting across from us. What are you focusing on right now? Then, of all people, Akihiko, kind of heard what we were talking about and chimed in. It's like, yeah, I smell it too. It's tantalizing. It's all I can think about, right? And Junpei was like, finally, somebody gets it. I'm not just talking to this guy over here. Sonata Senpai understands what we're talking about here. And so he was super excited there to have someone on his side that sees it the way he does. And then Akihiko kind of went on to say, yeah, man, it's making me hungry. And at that point, Junpei was kind of just like, what? Are we sure we're talking about the same thing? And Akihiko's like, well, yeah, we've got to be talking about that beef bowl I've been reheating, right? We're all smelling that. It smells good. We're all getting hungry, right? And at that point, my character smelled it too. And I was like, yeah, that does smell good. And Junpei's like, oh, man, you guys are focusing on that when we've got all this in front of us. But eventually he too changed his tune and said, well, maybe that does actually smell pretty good. And so, the three of us guys were all kind of distracted by this good-smelling beef bowl. And Mitsuru was trying to crack the whip a little bit and say, come on, guys, focus. That'll be a good treat once we're done studying, but focus on studying first. That's why we're here. And so we kept studying, newly motivated with this talk of the beef bowl. And as time keeps going on, the smell just keeps getting better and better. And I'm thinking, even Yukari and Mitsuru are probably interested. And at that point, even Mitsuru's like, okay, 5 more questions, and then we can have a responsible snack before we wrap things up. We were all, even more dedicated then, Junpei especially. He was a man that couldn't be stopped at that point. Akihiko said something about, you're like a horse with a carrot in front of him, and it's the different things that it takes to motivate someone. But we all dug in hard to finish off our studying, nailed down all the last questions we had, reviewed our notes, and just did everything I think as best we could. And then we were all able to just kind of take that shared break and have that evening snack. Share a meal together, talk about something that's not just studying, take our minds off it, and just unwind before bed. So it was that really good foundation of study, topped off with that little bit of a social interaction, so there wasn't just the business side of things. We could still have some fun and be people. So I think we all felt really motivated after that. I feel as prepared as I can be coming into this week, which is the best feeling possible, I think, at this point. So we all headed our separate ways off to bed and just trying to know that we've done everything possible now, and it's up to what we've done to take us through this week. And I just really did appreciate having that time with everyone, since we're all preparing for the same exams, but at the same time, those exams are still a one-on-one confrontation. No matter how much group studying we do or how many notes we share, all throughout this week, it's me versus the paper, or it's Junpei versus his test. So we've done all we can together, and now we just have to see it through all the way to the end. So yeah, we wrapped up our night there, coming fresh into this week, as ready as we're going to be. So that catches us up on yesterday. I will get us over to the game, and we'll see how the first day of exams goes for us. Okay. And actually, this is where we left off studying at the end of last night. We had just wrapped things up, and we're putting the end of stuff on things. So we're going to finish up what we saw last night, and then we're going to get into today. So Mitsuru here. All right, that should be enough for tonight. Make sure not to eat too much before bed. And we didn't. We got a good night of sleep. And today is the day. We're going to get right into it. It is Monday, May 18th, just like it is for all of us. First semester midterm exams begin today and will last for 6 days. It's always that daunting feeling, right? You've got this big examination coming up, and you've done all you can, but then it starts, and then you've got to do it. There's nothing to do but to do it. As we've all been pointing out, my character here is just great at eavesdropping and overhearing things, so he's starting his day out early with that. I can hear some people talking.
Hold up.
Oh no! There's a test today. I didn't study at all yesterday because I fell asleep.
Nuh-uh.
Come on, you don't need to lie about it every time. It is kind of odd to think that someone would forget about midterm exams coming up, as much as they were talked about all week, the last 2 weeks at school. But maybe it happened. It didn't for us, thankfully. Don't you think it's rude to people who really have... Don't you think it's rude to people who really haven't studied? That's an interesting mentality. Why lie and say you haven't studied when other people are happily owning up to the fact that they haven't studied? Isn't it rude to them to pretend you fell asleep when they put in the effort to not put in the effort? A very unique way to look at things. Sure, it's nice to be smart, but you gotta be considerate of other people's feelings, too.
Excuse me?
Whatever. Quit being such a nag. I totally forgot 5 vocabulary words listening to you. That's the challenge of that last-minute cram session, and you're memorizing all the notes you can as best you can, and you've got to just get it in there so you can, hit it for the test. And you talk to somebody, and then poof, it's gone. Which is that proof that long-term study is technically the best habit? Not to say I've ever, been averse to that last-minute cram session. I will be the first to admit that cramming worked for me at a lot of times and got me through a lot of tough tests. So I'm not going to decry that because I'm just as guilty of it. I respect the other slackers. It's efficiency, right? Anyway, I spent last night cramming, and now I gotta memorize them all over again. And then the bell rings. Okay, here we go. It's the first day of exams. Just this classroom setting, the paperwork in front of you, that knowledge that everything's built up to this, and whatever happens, I've done the preparation I can, so now I've just got to live it in the moment. And to really quick reiterate for anybody who is wondering, yes, I played this game before, but no, I'm not using any sort of guides or reference material here. I'm playing it just as blind as can be at this point. Whatever choices I make are going to be mine. I hope they're going to be the right ones, but that all comes down to the study I did, not so many extra materials I've got here. This isn't a walkthrough or a guide or anything like that. This is just a real playthrough of the game, good or bad. So I'm hoping for good. But it's the first day of exams. The last question was a little difficult, but I still feel like I did pretty good. Well, I'll take that. Beats the alternative of knowing you didn't. Huh. Okay. Bear with me for a minute here. I knew it was going to come out like this. Rather than talking about it on the screen, let's jump back to the desk already and talk about it. Okay, we're back at the desk. And as weird as it is to say, that right there, that was the end of Monday, May 18th. I know, the stream's been going for, not even 15 minutes yet? So, yeah. I guess this technically is the end of Monday, May 18th, so let's talk about it. As we normally do, we'll look back on the day. This one's a very easy one to look back on because not very much happened. We got up, we checked our phone, and we remembered that it was the start of midterm exams this week. We'd studied well the night before, so that was encouraging. We got a good night of sleep, so that was encouraging. And we made our way to school. We got in, sat down at our desk, got all our materials out as we do. And we overheard some students talking about pretending to have forgotten the exam versus not studying, and going back and forth on whether it's better to just own up to not studying or to make excuses for lack of test performance. Which is kind of an interesting thought. I've never really given it, that level of thought. What do you guys think? Is it better to come up with an excuse for exams or to just say it proudly that you didn't study? I'm not really sure there's a good answer on either side of it, but what do you guys think? It'd be interesting to hear. But either way, those couple of girls were talking about cramming last minute for the test and forgetting things that they need to go review before the test starts. And then the bell rang. So papers were passed out, and it just pulled back to that scene of the classroom of all of us hunched over our tests doing the best we could. And it was nice to see that it sounded like the test was encouraging for my character, that he understood things for the most part. It sounded like it ended on a difficult note, which, yeah, I mean, it's the first day of the first exam, topic for the time, so it's hard to really know everything that went into it. The fact that he did miss some time probably didn't help. He got some good notes from Mitsuru and shared everyone else's information, though, so I hope we filled all the gaps we could. We're not a slacker academically anymore. We've moved up to average. So I'm just, going to try to give it the best effort we can. And at the end of the day, that's all you can really do, isn't it? So I'm sure this was a nice, busy study day, or actual day. It's not a study day anymore. But we made it through the first day of exams. Hopefully. We won't know until the results come out. But even after getting through a day of tests, you can kind of tell more or less how you're feeling. Me and the game said we think we did pretty well. And I've definitely come away from tests not thinking that. I try not to leave anything blank, but there are just some tests where it's a shot in the dark, and it's like, well, I know it's wrong if I don't answer anything, so I might as well put something down and hope. But thankfully it didn't look like that was the case for our character today. And like I've been saying with the rest of the day's playthroughs, even if the game doesn't show us much, there is a lot that we can still assign meaning to that happened for our version of the playthrough, even if the game doesn't show it. So I like to think that it was a full day of exams. We had lunch in the middle, maybe talked with our friends about how hard the morning tests were, or maybe for some of us how easy they were. I don't think our character's going to be the one saying they were overly easy, but you never know. And then it was probably right back into it for the afternoon. And even if it wasn't a full day of exams, there was probably still review for tomorrow's exams, because again, this is a full week of exam test time. But our day wrapped up there then. And since it is exam week, there's obviously no extracurricular activity, no student council, no track team, nothing like that. So a lot of those social links we wouldn't have had access to anyway. I'm sure the elderly couple wouldn't want me taking my time during exam weeks to spend with them. I mean, they'd probably like to see me, but I'm sure they want me to be a good student as well. So it was probably one of those I didn't have time to make it over to the bookstore. Actually, they were probably closed today anyway since it's Monday. I'm not sure what Maiko was up to today, but I hope she was having a good day. But come the evening, I'm sure it was probably just another one of those continuing to get ready for the rest of the week of exams. Stop after school maybe and get a quick bite to eat or something, head back home to review the material from today and to just see what topics are coming up for tomorrow's tests and really hit that material hard. Maybe it would be nice if we were able to continue that study group sessions we've had the last few nights. Even if it's not all of us, maybe Yukari and I could get together, or maybe Junpei and I could talk about whatever tomorrow's topic is and just see how we're both feeling on things. Maybe we went all the way up to the command room, the nice couch up there, and just brought our books with us and quizzed each other on something to get ready for tomorrow or something. The game didn't show us any of that, but I'm sure it was just really doing all we could to keep staying ready for the upcoming exams. Yeah, we didn't get to see it, but we'll know a lot of it did happen, and hopefully we can just build on that tomorrow and hit tomorrow's tests feeling just as ready. But for the Persona a Day side of things, that is actually the end of Monday, May 18th. I want to thank you all so much for being here. My name is Tom Shima, and I'm streaming this Persona playthrough every day live at 12:30 Eastern Time. So if you ever want to be here for that, that is when you can. I also upload each day's playthrough to YouTube, so if you want to watch the current day or any other previous day, I have a playlist available for that. I hope you all have a wonderful Monday, May 18th, that it starts out productive, stays productive, and you accomplish all the things you need to do to start the week off on a good note. I have been Tom Shima. Thank you for joining me today, and goodbye. With that, we've reached the end of the day. Please look forward to next time to see where the game goes from here. This journey is being streamed live on my Twitch channel if you'd like to be there in person for the experience. Links and schedule details can be found in the description. I'll keep uploading each day's session to this channel so you can keep watching here. Once again, I'm Tom Shima. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you again as I continue the series, Persona a Day. What will tomorrow bring?